You're listening to the One Man Show Network. Welcome to the MMA Fight Picks Podcast with your host, Aaron Weinbaum.
Hey kids, and welcome to the MMA Fight Picks Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Weinbaum, and today I have a very special guest from MMA Odd Breakers.com. Nick Kalikas, am I saying that right? Please tell me I'm saying that right.
You are. You're saying it right.
Oh, sweet. And of course, there's a little known fight card this weekend, UFC 229 from Las Vegas. Khabib versus McGregor. And as we do this podcast, the fight is on. Nobody has missed weight. It's the Thursday before. How excited are you?
Man, I can't believe it's happening in a way. You know, a lot of us as fans obviously have been waiting for this fight for a long time. And, you know, the fear that most of us have in occasions like this, where somebody's going to miss weight, somebody's going to fall off the card with injury or something like that. So, obviously, we're close to the weigh-in day. So everything looks to be okay for the moment. But, yeah, I can't wait, man. I hope everything stays together. Of course,
Oh man, me too. I'm just like you. I'm super nervous that this isn't going to happen. But listen, tell me just a little bit about yourself and what it is you do.
Well, I originated a lot of the betting odds that have appeared for UFC for the last several years through some various sports books. So I also consult with Donbest Sports, and the odds get posted on Donbest, and of course the market usually follows as well. So I've been doing that for several years. I have a website called MMAOddsBreaker.com as well. We focus on betting lines, fight previews, picks, and that sort of thing as well. So basically MMA odds making, combat sports I should say as well, because we've focused more on Glory and other leagues as well now. So a little bit of everything.
So I have a question now. Do you focus on like the prop bets as well? Like do you take odds on if Khabib's going to make weight or any of that stuff?
Yeah, we do actually. And there's some ones that just got released at BetDSI. Actually, yesterday, I believe, or the day before.
Nice.
I'm going to open up some of them. And specializing in this, especially for Khabib and Conor, obviously such a big fight. So requests came in for some silly props as well. I mean, there's some crazy props sometimes, more media-driven props, which, obviously clickbait type stuff as well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
More than anything else. Nothing like really serious with those. But then, of course, matchup props as well, like, by submission, by KO, and that sort of thing as well. So a little bit of mix, with everything here as well for this fight. And they're going to offer a lot more than, the normal standard props that you would get in, on a regular UFC card, just because of the power of Conor.
Now, I've had a lot of fun guests on this particular podcast, but nobody as qualified as you. And I always tell people, don't make bets based on my picks, but maybe make some bets based on yours, but no pressure, right?
Oh, no problem.
No problem. All right. And, and we hear odds and I'm sure you're going to tell me some odds and we'll have to explain that a little bit to the more layman person here. But, how about we pick Aspen Ladd versus Tonya Evinger? Is there a prop bet that Aspen Ladd shows up to this fight healthy?
No. I don't think we have to be too concerned about that. I know that she had an issue recently, but still, I think that, she's going to be okay for this one. That's pretty good, though. And you know what? Those are the kind of out of the box and, outside thinking props that some of these books actually like. They like to come up with some of those, fun props or whatnot as well. But this fight in itself, I mean, Ladd is coming in as a favorite. She's minus 175 right now at BetDSI. The comeback on Evinger is plus 145. This line has moved all over the place.
Wow.
Early action came in on Evinger because Ladd opened a little bit higher. She opened over 2-1. So the betting public came in and hit Evinger right away and drove the line down. And then some sharper action actually came back in on Ladd and drove the line back up a little bit. So it's closer to 2-1 now, just under 2-1 where it's sitting. And there has been some two-way action in this fight. But it seems like the general consensus is on Evinger, and the sharper bettors are actually on Aspen Ladd. And honestly, I do agree with the sharper side of things here. I think stylistically, it's a good fight for Ladd. Evinger is a tough lady. We all know that. I mean, she's a veteran of the sport, been around for a while, former Invicta champion. I mean, her credentials speak for themselves. But stylistically, this is a tough fight for her because I think Evinger needs to kind of grind people out, get this fight to the floor, do what she does best. She has good ground and pound. She has the ability to finish the fight by submission underground as well. She's a grinder, but I think it's going to be tough for her to do that to Aspen Ladd. I think Aspen Ladd's striking is a lot better. I think her takedown defense is good enough where she's going to be able to stay upright. If she does get taken down, I think she might be able to reverse and get on top. And Aspen Ladd on top of Evinger is not a good thing for Evinger, because Aspen Ladd could be some nasty, drop some nasty ground and pound down as well. So I do favor Ladd here. I think just stylistically, it's a bad fight for Evinger. Ladd is the younger fighter. I think she has more upside at this point as well. And Evinger's just going to be one of these fighters, I think, that the UFC is going to match up. And you get a quality win over Evinger, then you're on the right track for sure.
Wow. Woo! That's tough, man. I tend to lean toward Evinger in this fight. She's definitely been the more active fighter. But, of course, you can't discount that Aspen owns a win over Lena Landsberg, who, they both fought Cyborg, Lena and Tonya, but you can't really do the MMA math on this. I like Tonya. She's never lost at 135 pounds, but Aspen hasn't either. So this is interesting. But here's what breaks it for me. Tonya is a Missouri girl. I'm from Missouri, so I think Tonya takes the fight. How about that?
Hey, I totally get it, man. I'm an Ohio guy, so I've rooted for Ohio UFC fighters several times. So yeah, you got to stay loyal. So, and especially a close fight like that, like you said, if you're on the fence with it, totally understand.
Awesome, man. I like this flyweight fight. Sergio Pettis, Jussier Formiga. Woo, man. A win with either of these guys puts them right back up there, and yeah, I was surprised Sergio even made it the distance, really, with Henry Cejudo. And what do you think?
It's a great fight. I mean, both of these guys have really improved their games quite a bit lately. I think they're both deserving of, being kind of in the title shot mix. And you're right. The winner of this fight takes a huge step towards that again. I mean, unfortunately for them, like you said, they both lost to Cejudo. Pettis obviously made it. Formiga did not last in that fight, but that being said, again, I mean, outside of those, they've been great, man. I mean, Pettis has been on a heck of a roll. His win over Benavidez in his, last time out was very impressive. Formiga, man, he's such a tough matchup for a lot of fighters, because even if he doesn't, necessarily have the greatest wrestling, he finds a way to get your back, and then he's a backpack. He's just tough to get off you. He's got such good jiu-jitsu and such grappling that, man, I mean, once he starts working his ground game, it's tough to really get anywhere with him. So Pettis has been put on his back in the past. And Formiga is going to go that route. He's not going to want to stand and bang with Pettis too much, even though Formiga has improved that striking a little bit. He's gotten a little bit more power, a little bit more confidence on the feet, but it's still, I mean, in this spot here, he's not going to want to do that. So that's why I think this fight's kind of tough. I think Formiga can make this an ugly fight. And I think, if he gets Pettis down repeatedly or takes his back, he could even sub Pettis possibly. I mean, Pettis underground has pretty good jiu-jitsu in his own right. His sub defense is actually pretty solid as well. So maybe he survives on the ground with him. But I think it's another case where Pettis is going to want to try to keep this thing standing, and Formiga is going to want to get this to the ground. So intriguing fight. The betting line is actually Pettis at minus 155 right now.
Really?
The comeback on Formiga is plus 125. So yeah, slight favorite for Pettis. I think it's about right because, like I said, I slightly lean towards Pettis as well. But from a betting perspective, I wouldn't lay the chalk right now. It's just Formiga's, like I said, he'll make this fight ugly. And, if he doesn't get finished and put out of there, he'll probably have a real shot on the scorecards here as well.
So you're thinking it's just not something you would bet on, or, is it just
No, I think
tight?
there's some value. Yeah, I think there is a little bit of value in Formiga. But again, the line has dropped a little bit as well. There's been some action that's taken that Formiga line down a little bit more. So as it drops to a lower price, then the value is kind of going away. So where it's at right now, plus 125, plus 135, that's probably about the max. I think around that spot, if you can get, 130s or so, there should be a little bit of value there. But beyond that, I would probably stay away. So when you're betting, honestly, in MMA and all sports, it's a game of line value. Some fights don't have value at certain prices and others do. Even if you think somebody's going to win, obviously, it doesn't matter. You have to shop for the right price and at the right time. So I think, maybe around plus one, like I said, 130s or so. There's some value, a little bit of value left in Formiga, but outside of that, you stay away from it.
All right, man. Woo, this is tough too. If you want to go strength of schedule, I think Pettis kind of edges him out a little bit. Pettis just fought in June. Formiga fought, he hasn't fought since February. So, just based on, I think just based on strength of schedule and frequency of fighting, I just want to go with Pettis on this, and that's may not be a good reason, but, that's just my gut instinct on this. I'm going to go with Pettis, but no method of victory on this. Cause like you said, this could be ugly and this could go either way.
This one, yeah, no doubt. Like I said, I think it's a tough one. I mean, I've been going back and forth on this fight as well, and I'm going to see how the weigh-ins kind of, look, how each fighter looks. That's important a little bit as well. Not too important. I mean, it's not going to sway things drastically, but if some fighter looks like he's suffering with a terrible weight cut or whatnot, or misses weight or whatnot, you could kind of maybe get something out of there to make you change your mind or be a little bit more decisive on a side.
All right, man. Next fight. I like this. You got the karate hottie, Michelle Waterson against Felice Herrig. Woo! What are you thinking?
This is a pick'em type of fight almost. I mean, even at the betting window right now, it's minus 120 for Herrig, minus 110 for Waterson. There's some minus 120s, even monies out there as well. So it's basically a pick'em. A pick'em, it would be like minus 110 either way, minus 115 either way. So anything around this is a very competitive fight, and it should be, right? I think both these ladies have a path to victory here. I mean, Waterson, I think, is the more technical fighter overall. She has some stand-up skills. She doesn't have a ton of power. It's not like she's going to go out there and just blow you away with her striking, but she's technical. She's fast. She has a speed advantage over Herrig. I think that's one of Herrig's flaws on the feet. She's just a little bit slow. Her striking has gotten better. She's definitely got some power on the feet as well, but she's hittable, and she's just a little bit too slow for my liking. I wish she could speed things up a little bit on the feet and be a little bit more active as well. So, but if she connects, I think she's definitely the harder hitter, and she'll do some damage on Waterson, on the feet as well. On the ground, I think Herrig's a little bit stronger. She probably has a little bit of an edge as far as wrestling goes, but Waterson's more technical, I think, in her submission skills. So that's interesting as well. I could see these ladies having some fun scrambles on the ground. So I think if this fight hits the scorecards, which it probably will, I mean, the total for this fight is 2.5 over minus 440. There's minus 480. That's ridiculous. So it's basically pointing that it's going, and that's about right. You know what I mean? But I'm saying it's ridiculous because even in ladies fights, you don't typically see the total being like, laying minus 500-ish or whatever on for it going the distance. So obviously this is supposed to go to the distance, and if it does, another split decision type of fight. We're going to probably see 29-28, split decision type of fight here. I'm going to probably go as far as a pick. I'll lean Herrig for right now slightly, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if Waterson pulls it off. This is a tough fight to pick.
I tend to agree with you. I think they're pretty evenly matched, and for all the reasons you said, but I think when it comes down to it, when it comes down to grit and just being the meaner, nastier fighter, I gotta go with Felice on that, edging, Michelle out. Nothing against Michelle Waterson. I think she's a great fighter. I think she's just a little more domesticated. I see Felice probably edging this out somehow. Like you said, though, probably a decision.
Yeah, more than likely. I think that's probably right.
All right, man. Next fight at heavyweight. Derrick the Black Beast Lewis against Alexander Volkov. Man, I hope we see a different Derrick Lewis than the one that fought Francis Ngannou. I think Dan Henderson said in that fight, very first round, Dan Henderson was there. He goes, I think I scored this round 0-0. And he was right, man. It was a bad fight. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, you're not the only one. I mean, all of us were pretty shocked in that fight, man. Crazy. You have two heavy hitters that are not usually like that, but that's how much respect they have for each other, and that's how much fear for the power, obviously, they have for each other as well there.
Yeah.
But it just was not, especially for Ngannou, man, was not expecting that at all. I don't think Lewis is going to be that inactive or that timid in this fight, even though Volkov is a heck of a heavyweight, man. I mean,
he is.
Talent. He's big time. I mean, he's definitely lining himself up towards a title shot, and deservingly so. But the win here gets him one step closer, obviously, as well.
Yeah,
it's not going to be an easy fight, though. This is another one tough at the betting window because I think Volkov does have the advantage in this fight, but his price right now is at minus 170. So I'm not liking it too much. I know, again, skill set for skill set, there's no question in my mind who the better fighter is. Volkov is certainly better on the feet overall. He's more technical. He's a little bit longer, obviously, as well. He doesn't have the like one-punch knockout power that Lewis does, right? But overall, I still think he's by far the better striker. And then on the ground, Volkov actually has a better game as well. I think he's probably the better wrestler. I think he's obviously better on the ground with his jiu-jitsu skill as well. Now, on the ground, though, Lewis gets top position. Ground and pound wise, obviously we know that's not a good thing for any fighter, any heavyweight fighter. If Lewis gets on top on the ground, he's just nasty. I mean, he can finish fights that way as well. So if Volkov finds himself on his back, not a good spot. I think Lewis can finish it there. Or on the feet, Lewis does have enough power. So even if he's getting outpointed, this is what the concern is here, laying that chalk at minus 170. I mean, all it takes is a one big punch from Lewis to connect and change this, fight completely. And Volkov in the past has showed a bit of a weak chin. So, that's why you got to be cautious here laying this price. I think Volkov does win this fight, and he should win this fight. But, man, almost 2-1, you're almost laying twice your money on this fight. I don't think it's probably worth it. That's another, sad to say, but it's another pass situation for me.
Nice. I tend to agree. I think Volkov is underrated, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, Derrick Lewis had some big wins. Francis Ngannou, well, you call that a win. That's not even a win, really. But,
Right.
He did lose to Mark Hunt, but he beat Travis Brown. He's, you just want to pick him every time because, he's mean. You hope for the big knockout. But really, Volkov has sneakily beat some big names, Verdun, Stefan Struve, Roy Nelson. So, I think at this point in the game, I think Volkov's more well-rounded, and, I think he beats Derrick Lewis. So
he should. I kind of hope so, because like I said, I want to see him continue that climb. Not that, I'm not a Lewis fan. You got to be a Lewis fan the way, that guy is. It's hard not to be, but I still think that, skill for skill, Volkov's a better fighter. So I'd like to see him win.
All right, man. Me too. This one is not going to be so hard for me to pick. Odds wise, maybe, but Tony Ferguson, Anthony Pettis at lightweight. What are you thinking? I'm excited to see this fight, but I have a feeling how it may go. But what are you thinking?
Ferguson's a big favorite here, and rightfully so, based on what they've done recently. Obviously, the last couple years of their careers or whatnot. So Ferguson's coming in at minus 350 right now. The comeback on Pettis is at plus 260, and that's at BetDSI. There's minus 370 out there, so just under 4-1 for Tony Ferguson. Which, man, back a couple years ago, you would not see Anthony Pettis being this big of a dog. You can get him at plus 300 against Tony Ferguson. So that tells you a lot right there. Now, we got to give credit to where credit's due. Pettis did come in, in his last fight and pull off an impressive win against Chiesa. In my opinion, though, Chiesa looked, I don't know. He didn't look obviously right in that fight to me.
Right.
I'm not taking anything away again from Pettis because he deserved to get that win. He looked great in that fight, and I was glad to see him kind of get back on track as well. But here, I mean, he's facing a different animal, Tony Ferguson. I think stylistically it's a tough matchup, especially for a declined Anthony Pettis. If he was in his prime, I'd be all over him, especially at the dog price. And still, this is another spot where how much can you really trust Tony Ferguson? He's coming off surgery, a little bit of a layoff. I know the guy was on an extreme roll, and he's definitely one of the best lightweights out there. He's proven that time and time again. But still, I mean, Pettis is not exactly a chump. I mean, he's still has some skill on the feet. He's still capable of catching a neck, catching a limb, and possibly submitting you. Yeah. I think Ferguson's pretty sound defensively, though, as far as the ground game goes. So I don't think we see a sub happening here. I think either way, they could probably neutralize each other there. But I do think Ferguson, that pace that he sets as well, it's pretty high. And Pettis his cardio has been a little bit, suspect, even with his weight drop to 145 and then back up. So there's a lot of question marks surrounding Pettis, even though, again, he did bounce back with a pretty solid win. So Ferguson is a rightful favorite. But are you going to lay 4-1 over a guy that just came off that, the knee issues that he just recently had? I mean, I wouldn't do it. That's just too much risk. There's better spots, maybe not even on this card, but in the future coming up. I mean, there's still so much, to bet ahead in the UFC in 2018 that part of betting is just being disciplined and picking your spots along the way. And although this card from top to bottom is a really solid card, I think it's still not the greatest card for betting, especially where the current numbers are right now. So again, there's not a lot of spots that scream to me, that are really that far off enough to, to show up in the value end of sports betting right now. So, and this is another one for me. I think, Ferguson is a rightful favorite where it's priced right now, where it's settled at. It's a dog or pass situation. And I don't really want to go in on Pettis here, I think. So I'll pick Ferguson to win, but from the betting perspective, I'm staying away from this one as well.
Yeah, I don't blame you. You look at that scar on Pettis' knee, or not Pettis, I'm sorry, on Ferguson's knee, you think, how can this guy even walk? But on the other end, you got Pettis. Yeah, he beat Chiesa. He beat a Chiesa that killed himself to make weight, still didn't make weight. And, you're right. He looked bad. He did not look the same, but there's always that factor with Pettis where he can lay one on you, and Tony Ferguson is known to get rocked in fights. Lando Venata, for example, you would think he went on to do some great things after that Ferguson fight, but not so much. But it just proves you that Tony can get rocked. But in the end, I think he's better conditioned probably than Pettis is, and I think he edges it out. But like you said, I wouldn't bet on it either.
Yep, it's just tough. Like I said, I just hope it's a good fight, honestly. I would love to see these guys go to war for 3 rounds and just being like a classic throwback, Anthony Pettis type of fight that's just phenomenal. I would love to see these guys test themselves. And I think Ferguson could use it as well. We want to see what's left, how he's going to look and get pushed a little bit, if he does win this fight. Because, obviously he's going to be lined up for a title shot soon as well.
Yeah, I agree. Here we go. The main event of the evening. Khabib Nurmagomedov against Conor, the notorious one. McGregor, man, everyone loves McGregor. And does that affect the odds, how much everyone loves him? 'Cause,
absolutely. Yes.
I mean, they're just betting on him to bet on him, right? So that moves the odds to where he's just this huge, huge favorite, right?
No, I mean, he's not a favorite. That's the thing. But you're right, too, though, in regards to, I mean, the people are betting on him like crazy.
Yeah.
So, but he's not a favorite. I mean, you can't make him a favorite because the sharp action would just tear up the sports book. So I personally opened it minus 185 for Khabib over Conor. Conor was plus 155. The action did come in Conor's way and it dropped. The sports books actually are pretty heavy on Conor right now in general, but a lot of sharp action came back in on Khabib as well. So now they're starting to get a little bit more balance. But in general, I know that even in Westgate and Vegas, for example, to use some of their stats, 74% of the tickets as of yesterday were on Conor McGregor, and like 60, say 65% or something around there of the action overall was on Conor McGregor in that fight as well. So people are betting Conor McGregor. But again, the sharper action, that's more general public bets though. That's more people that are, maybe casual fans, not, diehard fans or not diehard bettors. Most of, I think the bettors in the MMA community are probably going to go the other side and pick Khabib and put their money on Khabib as well. Again, the sharper action is coming in that way as well. So the sports books are going to need Khabib to pull off this win. If Conor McGregor pulls off the upset here, they're going to lose some serious money in this fight. So, I mean, Khabib is supposed to be the side. I think he is the rightful side in this spot as well. I mean, stylistically, you have a throwback, right? I mean, a wrestler versus a striker in that regard. And, so both of these guys are in trouble if they can't get the fight in their realm, right? If Khabib cannot get this fight to the ground and control Conor or, do his thing on the ground, he's going to be in some serious trouble on the feet. But vice versa, obviously, if Conor, isn't able to keep the fight upright, he's in some serious trouble on the ground as well. So I think Conor is in trouble here, honestly, more than anything else, because Khabib's been such a monster. I mean, he's such a dominant grappler, such a dominant wrestler, such a dominant fighter in general, that I think Conor McGregor's takedown defense is improving and his ground game has gotten better. But there's still levels of, and he's not on that level as far as stopping and having a real shot against Khabib on the ground at this point, I think. Right. So we'll see how it plays out. I mean, if Conor McGregor is able to stuff these takedowns and wins this fight by knockout, man, I mean, who's going to beat him in the lightweight division? It's going to it's going to have to be somebody that outlasts him in a 5-round war, kind of like Diaz did, you know what I mean? That almost gets knocked out and it absorbs that kind of punishment and then maybe waits to wear him out and submits him again. I mean, it's going to have to be a fighter like that. But Diaz barely survived.
Yeah, he did.
Both times actually.
And he was the much bigger guy.
Right. So if McGregor can pull this off, man, he's going to be hard to beat because, a lot of people aren't going to be able to take him to deep waters, I think. So we'll see. This is a big test for both guys, but I do think Khabib's the side here. I think that, again, his wrestling is going to come into play here. He's just a dominant grappler. I think he finishes the fight on the ground. Imagine if he is able to take Conor down by, the second round, or if Conor's able to survive that long and it keeps on dragging out and Conor's going to have to get up off his back, he's going to be so tired. I mean, it's going to be a grueling fight if he's going to have to consistently try to work off his back and get up. So Khabib's going to end up finding a finish here.
Wow. Well, look what Mendes did. I mean, I don't want to say he was out of shape, but he wasn't prepared. He was a much smaller guy and, he was handling Conor for a little bit until he kind of gassed. But man, listen, Khabib beat Al Iaquinta, which makes him the greatest ever. Right?
Yeah, that was the quality win. People aren't giving him enough respect for that fight, to be honest with you. And Iaquinta's a tough guy to beat.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's got wrestling, he's not the easiest guy to control like that. So that tells you right there alone. I mean, that's a big plus for Khabib right there. He was able to ragdoll even Iaquinta at times. Yeah. Iaquinta performed really good in that fight.
I was surprised. I was surprised how many times he got up. I mean, because usually Khabib has you down, you're down.
Right. Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, in that circumstance with Iaquinta, he did phenomenal. So that's just, hats off to him. But that's just a tough fight for anybody in the lightweight division, Iaquinta. It's not – I mean, so people were acting like, oh, Khabib struggled with Iaquinta, so he's not as good as we all thought. We've seen those kind of comments. No, that's ridiculous. I mean, he's fighting good people. Even Michael Johnson, for example. You know what I mean? That fight with nobody really ragdolls Michael Johnson all that much, right?
No.
And he did it. He got caught early on and got rocked a little bit in that fight, which was scary. I mean, again, we could see that same thing play out maybe in this McGregor fight here, but eventually, look what happened. I was thinking Johnson and another guy would be a tough matchup for him. Wrestler with knockout power that could possibly keep it upright. But look, I mean, Khabib did his thing, got him down, and just I didn't see anybody put a beating on Michael Johnson at that time like that. That was crazy.
No,
then look at Barboza, man. I mean, Barboza has excellent takedown defense. I mean, the guy has good takedown defense. And outside of, obviously now, since he got exposed a little bit from Khabib, he suffered a little bit as well since. But that being said, I mean, before that fight, if you were going to take Barboza down and have success doing so, you're not going to be able to keep him down. You know what I mean? He bounces back up to his feet fairly quickly. And, I mean, Khabib just ragdolled him. He just put it on him. I mean, that was kind of sad to see Barboza in that state, honestly. That's how much of a beating put on him. So that's what Khabib's capable of doing. And I could see the same thing happening to McGregor here if he's not able to keep this fight upright.
I see the same thing. But like you said, Johnson kind of lit Khabib up a little bit. And, he'll go for the kill. If McGregor lays, if McGregor smells blood, he'll go for the kill, and he's a lot quicker than Michael Johnson. So I can't really, it's really hard for me to pick against Khabib. I mean, he's so big. He's so strong. I hope he makes weight. I hope this isn't like the deal. Listen, I picked the Iaquinta card with Aljamain Sterling, and we picked some fights, and not one of the fights we picked happened. It was the craziest thing ever. And, we were making tons of jokes that, cause Al at the time was going to fight Felder, and, felt really good about that. But, I can't pick against Khabib. I think he could probably even finish him. If he can control him on the ground, if he can get him to the ground, but Conor could get rangy. You never know. He's
go ahead. Well, no, Conor McGregor, in my opinion, is one of the best strikers I've ever seen in my life, man. I mean, he's accurate. He's smart. Everything about him, I mean, he's technical. I mean, he's a beast. So I mean, you could just tell. He's going to game play. He's going to be prepared for those, takedowns or whatnot, at least at the beginning. But again, eventually, what we're going to see probably is, what's inevitable, I think, and that's going to be probably Khabib getting a takedown. But there's no. I mean, I would not be shocked at all if Conor catches him coming in. Like if he, goes in for a sloppy takedown or just doesn't figure out that spacing early enough. And Conor lands an uppercut on the way in or a knee or so, if catches him something like that, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I wouldn't be shocked at least. So Conor definitely could win this fight on the feet for sure. He could, and he could keep him. He could keep him at total distance, with his jab, with his kicks, and make it harder for Khabib to get in there. But that's a pretty tough order. I've not seen anyone be able to keep Khabib at bay yet. So I got to go with Khabib. I think he wins his fight. I think he is the and still, but you know what? Here's the thing. I don't know. There's a lot of big fights for Conor still if Khabib pulls this off, and probably a rematch, down the line. I think Conor's kind of setting everything up for it, saying this rivalry is never going to be over and this and that at the latest press conference. But man, I want to say Khabib, but I don't feel great about it. But, and every sportscaster, or every other podcast I've heard, Anik and Florian, that, they're all saying Conor, that I don't see it, man. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, like I said, he's a special athlete. He's special talent for sure. So, I mean, nothing would surprise me, but I mean, it shouldn't be that way. I think in this fight, I mean, logic says that Khabib should be able to get this takedown and win the fight that way. So, I'm with you, man. I think anything under 2-1 actually has some value. You got to be careful with it, of course, because of Conor's knockout power, but there is a bet to be made here, especially as, the line drops or whatnot, and it might still, but right now it's at minus 170. So it did, like I said, initially it did open up a little bit higher in the public action coming in on Conor. And it was down, I think, to like 150-ish. It was down to minus 150-ish, and now it's coming back up a little bit as well with, like I said, some sharper action is coming on Khabib. So sharp bettors do believe in Khabib, and more of the general public and more of, I don't want to say dumb bettors, because there's going to be some smart bettors on Conor as well, so I don't want to disrespect people like that. So, but that being said, the majority of those guys are just maybe not the sharpest bettors out there that are betting Conor McGregor right now. That's what the sports books are seeing, at least.
Yeah. Okay. So now, before we wrap this up, I'm not picking any fights for UFC 230, but I made the statement the other day that Nate Diaz never makes 155 pounds again. I think he's been passively, aggressively kind of trying to pull out of this fight twice, at least on Twitter. And, calling for the 165 pound belt. He hasn't made 155 pounds since December 2015. Before that, he missed in 2014, and he had trouble making weight for the Benson Henderson fight, back in 2012. He was a much younger guy. And let's not forget, he publicly said he hates making 155 pounds and had a stint at welterweight. Says he's not paid enough to, starve himself. So what do you think? What are the odds of him making 155 pounds again?
I don't know. I mean, it's unfortunate if he doesn't.
I know.
I think it's kind of a good weight class for him. I understand the weight cuts.
Mm-hmm.
These guys go through brutal cuts, but I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look that good with everything that we're seeing as of late. I think you're right. I think there's a lot of questions coming to play here. Dustin even tweeted something out there, like he blew it or something, right?
Yeah.
We're definitely pushing that 165-pound title fight. They were trying to put it in action and trying to make it work, but I wouldn't necessarily be against that. I think that's what they should.
I do.
I know Conor brought it up.
Yeah.
Something that he wants to see those divisions put into, and I think it's the smartest thing to do. Go 155, 65, 70.
Yeah.
95, 205, and heavyweight. Why not?
Why not?
Have more champions. I know, maybe some of the divisions might be a little bit more watered down, but you know what? This sport is growing. I mean, you're going to have some serious talent just, keep on getting produced out there. It's not like the talent's not going to be in that division eventually. It will be, I think. So
they are scraping for title fights and main events. Let's put more titles out there. Let's have more main events because they're putting that Eubanks versus oh my gosh, Shevchenko and my gosh, I mean seriously, man, it's crazy.
Upset about it. I understand. Eubanks is not a terrible fighter. She's not. She's a very solid fighter. But Shevchenko, in my opinion, she's the best female fighter on the roster. I know that she's had a few losses to some really talented fighters and champions.
Yeah.
She's still the better fighter. She was outsized in those fights.
She was.
So that's the issue there. But pound for pound, to me, she's the best female in the sport right now. I mean, she's just so talented. So that's why I think people want to see her be tested a little bit more. I mean, her fight with Montano, though, that would.
Yeah.
That would probably be, obviously just as easy, if not a little bit easier, possibly than Sergio Eubanks as well. So that wasn't a great fight. But again, Montana she was the champion.
She was.
And she deserved it. I mean, winning, the title from going through that gauntlet, that shit was tough to get through for sure. So all those winners, man, deserve credit for sure for winning those.
Yeah, I agree. And, I hope I'm wrong about Nate Diaz, and I will eat my words if he makes 155 pounds and makes that walk. But too many strange things, too many signs are out there. That tweet about, this fight's for the 165 pound title. I love Nate Diaz. He's not that articulate. Somebody tweeted that for him, And so there is some strategy involved. And then, Dustin tweeting out something also. There's gotta be a little collaboration there. Probably not between the two of them, but probably between their teams. Trying to make that happen. Maybe I'm wrong, but, we will see. We will see soon. We will see in November. But until then,
that's an awesome fight.
I agree.
That's the kind of fight that everybody wants to see. I mean, there's no doubt, because those guys are going to it's going to be fireworks.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question. That fight cannot be anything different but fireworks.
No. And how about Conor? He just basically said, look at what Dustin's done since I fought him, and Nate's a great fighter, and I love this fight, and, yeah.
That's got to surprise me.
Yeah, I know.
That forward with stuff, but he's right. He's absolutely right. I'm glad he's giving these guys so much respect.
Yeah, me too.
There's some warriors out there, and those are two of them right there.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely warriors.
Agreed. Well, man, I won't keep you much longer. This has been a lot of fun. I hope we can do it again sometime. And please tell everyone where we can find you and what you got going on.
All right. Well, check out our website, MMAOddsBreaker.com. And then you can personally find me on Twitter at FightOdds. So both of those places. Also at MMA Oddsbreaker on Twitter for the website as well.
Awesome. And thanks again. We'll do it again soon. And please keep in touch.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right.
Thank you for being on.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. Well, that was a lot of fun, and thank you for all you periscopers out there that hung into the stream, that kept going in and out. Sorry about that. I have no control over the interwebs. But until next time, this is Aaron Weinbaum. Enjoy the fights this weekend, and Shalom.
Please remember to support the podcast by visiting the affiliate links on AaronSaysWhat.com.
Are you looking for a permanent home for your podcast? Well, Spreaker can do it all. Spreaker will give you your own RSS feed that you can submit to other platforms, including iTunes. Spreaker's mobile app will let you record from your smartphone, or you can use their web-based console with everything you need to record. Their podcasting plans include being able to host multiple shows at no extra charge. Got a YouTube channel? Spreaker's got you covered. You can effortlessly upload your podcast audio to your channel. You can even move your current podcast to Spreaker without losing any of your iTunes subscribers. Try any plan 30 days for free using promo code ASW.